I'm going to get started. So, Ani Bojo, Indigenica, the woman who breathes with the singing waters at the north door. I am Algonquin and Métis, originally from French River area with ties to Golden Lake. I am Bear and Buffalo Clan. So today we're going to be opening in a traditional way, and so we ask that everyone has their devices silent. For us, before we enter into a circle or into a ceremony, we smudge. So as we're entering into the circle, we're smudging everyone who's coming in. And so I would like us to begin by smudging, and everyone is welcome to smudge along with me. If you have never smudged before, I will say it out loud. And so, to my eyes, so I may see the good in the world. Thank you for the good that I see. To my hair, for my connection to spirit and source. Thank you for my connection. May I always honor it. To my ears, so I may hear the good in the world. Thank you for the good that I hear. And to my mouth, so I may speak with love, truth, and kindness. Thank you for the ability to speak. To my heart, so I may live out of it. And to my feet, so I may always walk the red road. And so traditionally before the elder prays, we honored the day through song and drumming. Drumming connects us to the heartbeat of Mother Earth and brings us all together. Wanda from the North Bay, Madajawan Shadow Drummers, is here today to lead us in a song. Wanda is a woman of the drum, so miigwech Wanda for joining us today.
Welcome, Bindigan. Today I'd like to share with you a water song. Mother of the waters, we call on you. Water is sacred. Water is life. Water connects and unites all of us. With this song, it reminds us of life and how life goes. Sometimes the waters are calm, and sometimes the waters become turbulent. In our life journey, we always return to the calm waters. We sing this song in 4 verses, 4 rounds, and we start out slowly like the calm waters and get a little faster with each round. And in the final round, we return and welcome the calm waters. 4 shaker beats in. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, do-we-ya. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, day. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, do-we-ya. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, day. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey-ya. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey-ya. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, do-we-ya. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, day. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, do-we-ya. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, day. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey-ya. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey-ya. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, do-we-ya. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, day. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, do-we-ya. Wichita, do-we-ya, do-we-ya, day. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey-ya. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey. Wichatanea, hey-ya, hey-ya. Wichita, hey, hey. Wichita, do-ya, do-ya, do-ya. Wichita, do-ya, do-ya, hey. Wichita, do-ya, do-ya, do-ya. Wichita, do-ya, do-ya, hey. Wichatunea, heya, heya. Wichatunea, heya, hey. Wichatunea, heya, heya. Wichatunea, heya, hey. Water, we thank you. Water, we respect you. Water, we love you. Gagaganen miigwech, all my relations. Thank you for the opportunity to share in your sacred ceremony today as we all gather here and learn and love and in oneness. I wish you all many blessings and thank each and every one of you for being part of this sacred time together. Together, we create a better future for our children and generations to come. Aho.
Miigwech. Thank you, Wanda. For our grand opening, we have Hereditary Chief Phil Lane Jr. with us today. Chief Phil Lane Jr. is a world-renowned elder and member of the Dakota and Chickasaw Nations. He's dedicated his life to fulfilling the prophecy of the Condor, Hummingbird, Quetzal, and Eagle. He's a traditional teacher, a community advocate. He's worked with Indigenous peoples from across the globe and also was an associate professor at the University of Alberta in Lethbridge. He is someone who walks the red road and is a very humble man. And so we are grateful to have him today to open for us. Miigwech.
My very, very warm and loving greetings to each and every one of you. And such a wonderful, way to share the wisdom and the spiritual guidance and prophecies we need so much as a human family at this time of history and what you're doing. So I'd like to open with a prayer. And thank you so much, dear sister, for that wonderful song. I know where you live very well. I've been there to visit and so forth. It was really wonderful. Ojan Kashla Wakantaka, Creator of the universe, most beloved one, all powerful one, most kind one, most compassionate one, ever forgiving one. O Ancient of Days, O most magnificent one, we call upon your holy power this day to infuse into our soul and being the understanding that each of us is a sovereignty, ancient and perishable and everlasting. And each of us, as part of one human family, is related intimately to all life upon this Mother Earth. And the herd of one is the herd of all. And the upliftment, the honor of one is the upliftment and honor of all. So we give thanksgiving this morning for all the tribes and nations of the four directions. To Father Sky, we give thanksgiving. And most of all, we humble ourselves before our Mother Earth and her representatives, womankind. And especially, we ask that the oppression of the life givers of this life, who represent Mother Earth, be ended forever. And we awaken to the reality that the eagle has two wings. One is man and one is woman. And until both wings of the eagle have equal power and respect and honor in this physical world of time and space, as the reality is in the spiritual world, humanity will never fly to its promised destiny. So we give this thanksgiving in a good way with all our heart and soul, and ask that each and every one of us might have a most beautiful day, that whatever challenges we might have, we face them with faith, with insight, with wisdom, and well knowing that everything that comes in our path, as long as we continue to pray our very best we can to move forward in a good way, is a gift given to us for our own spiritual perfecting. Halimichante washtelo, shunkmano hemedo chinupasapa hemedo halimichante washte. Aho. Well, it's really a pleasure to be here with you this beautiful day. And let me go back and share a little bit about some of these prophecies, because I think they're very, very important and are becoming more and more important. Back before other relatives had come here as prophesied from all the European tribes, there was a prophecy given by the Tiwanaku people. This is even predates the Incas, but they also share this. And they said that in the future, after a great spiritual winter time that would last about 500 years, that an eagle would come from the north. And when the eagle came from the north and joined the condor from the south, it would begin a movement that would eventually not only unite all the indigenous people of the Americas, but would be a catalyst for the unity of the entire human family, would be a fulfillment of all those prophecies that promised that indigenous people, whatever they went through, they would become so illumined, they would be a force that would help enlighten the entire world. And so if we could go back and really see and understand what the Americas looked like prior to the inevitable arrival of Columbus, because the world's round, so we know that this is all part of the thing that we'd all get together as we were in the beginning. We were one. And at that time, prior to Columbus's arrival, when I was a professor at the University of Lethbridge, our best calculations in terms of talking with other Native American studies professors that were looking at this issue was there was about 100 million indigenous people living across the Americas, living together in relative peace and harmony. Not to say there weren't conflicts, but if you compare what was happening in the Americas to what was happening in the rest of the world, these huge armies being thrust against each other, thousands of people being killed back and forth, we see no record of anything like quite to that degree. But there's a wonderful book if you'd like to do further research of what I'm sharing here. The book's called 1491. 1491 looks at what did it look like prior to the coming of Columbus, and that's where they're coming up with the evidence. There was about 100 million. This is when we were looking at it. Now there's scholars that are saying it was 108 million, but whatever. There was a lot of people here. That number was reduced to about 15 million, 15 to 20 million. So we're talking about a loss here of 70, 80 million human beings. A lot of it was from disease. And yet this prophecy and other prophecies like Black Elk's prophecy, Black Elk, as you may know, is this great visionary, and I'll come back to the Condor and Eagle, but he also had the same kind of vision of a rising out of the ashes, like the phoenix rising out of the ashes. And of course, probably most of you've gotten a chance to read Black Elk Speaks, in which his entire vision that he was given as a very young man is shared there. Just beautiful. It's just it's every time I read it, I've been reading it for over 50 years. Every time I read it, there's something new. But in this vision, and there's so much to it. They come to a place where really it's really symbolizes the journey of indigenous people. And so he said, they came to the highest mountain of all, and they speak about how they struggle up this mountain, and it's really historically kind of in a way a symbolic reflection of the journey that indigenous people of the Americas have made. But finally, after untold, you can just feel it, struggle, Black Oak says, I found myself standing on the highest mountain of all. And I looked down and I saw the sacred hoop of my people. And it was a hoop of many hoops, a sacred hoop of many hoops. And he said, I saw more than I could understand, and I understood more than I could say. For I was seeing the shape of all things as they lived together in unity and harmony. And I turned to the east, and two men were coming flying like arrows, and between them rose the daybreak star. With four blossoms, red, yellow, black, and white. And they came and gave this herb to me, the daybreak star herb. They said, with this herb of understanding, you shall have power over all things. And I took it and dropped upon the earth, and where it fell, there was no more darkness. So this vision of coming together after a long wintertime is shared throughout these prophecies. For instance, the Hopis. I had a great opportunity to, when I was a younger man, meet Thomas Minyaka, who'd also already met my father when I was down in Bolivia in 1969. That was 1970, 71. And what a wonderful gentleman he was. And he was one of the messengers from the Hopi people who came to bring this message. And again, I'm just summarizing these prophecies for you. But in this Hopi prophet, they said, beware, because there'll come a day when other relatives will come from the east across the great waters. And many of them, not all of them, but many of them will have forgotten the sacred teachings we were all given when we began this journey beneath the sacred tree of life. And beware, because that day comes, people will build trails across the sky and travel across those trails in birds. They said, beware, because people will build cobwebs across this land and speak across those cobwebs. And they said, beware, because people will build trails across this land and travel across those trails in bugs. Remember, I was sharing this with a group of very young students. And of course, I asked them, what do you think that was? And they said, Volkswagens. And they said at that time, they'll reach into the earth and find, if it's not used in a good way, it will be like dropping a gourd of ashes on the earth. And whatever it touches, nothing will grow for many, many seasons. Of course, I used to empty our wood stove. We'd take it out in the back, way back behind the house in the field. You dump out that box full of ashes. Of course, when it hits the ground, it looks like a mushroom cloud. It's exactly like a nuclear bomb. And they said, when that day comes, the earth will be shaken 2 times before any of the third world, the third shaking. And the second shaking of the world is very interesting. They say that the 2 of the powers will shake the earth. One will have the sign of the rising sun coming from the west, of course, Japan. And the other will have the sign of opposite that of life. And you'll see, if you go to the Yakama Nation, you go to a traditional longhouse feast there, you'll see on the back of their plates, and this is a very used by various nations, you'll see a sign. It looks like a swastika, except it's turned the opposite direction. It's called the whirling logs. It's found in quite a number of places that I know of, at least here in the Turtle Island, and so of course Nazi Germany. And then they talked about how after this happened, a great house of mica, of course mica is like glass, a great house of glass will be built on the eastern part of this land next to the Great Water, of course the United Nations building. And that's why the Hopis went there when that building was built, opened up, and tried to gain audience to warn humanity exactly where we're going, right where we are right now. And they would not they were allowed to come in. Finally, in the late 1980s, beginning 1990s, up to the exact date, they were able to come to address the United Nations, but nobody showed up. At that point, Thomas Binyaka and the other adults said, "We're not coming back. We've done our best." But we can see that what's going to unfold. So in that same spirit, the eagle did come from the north, arrived in Bolivia March 21st, 1970. 16 months, the eagle was mintered. On July 9th, 1971, the eagle, along with a whole 16 Quechuas, went to, on the back of a truck, in fact, went to Copacabana, which is on the edge of Lake Titicaca. They were able to put their money together and took a boat out to Island of the Sun, where the elders got off that boat and they literally kissed the earth. And they went to all those different places. Now, how those Quechuas knew all these dimensions, what existed, and they hadn't been back there for hundreds of years, that's a good question, but they did. And after prayers at the Island of the Sun, then the whole circle went to the Island of the Moon. They prayed there. And then just as the sun was going down, it was kind of dark, they went to the royal seat of the Incas, which I don't think people still know where it is, but it's back, way back in this, behind some forest there. And there they prayed. And as they prayed there, the eagle who had come from the north could literally feel the awakening of indigenous people across the Americas. And just as a locust, locusts, they take off in big swarms. What happens is just one locust just goes like this, and pew, bam, it spreads to everything. Everybody goes up, and that's what the relative of the eagle was feeling, is that whole thing. And so since that time, that's been a focus of not only eagles, but many eagles have arisen. Many people have begun to see this prophecy. But the main thing was, the prophecy said, after the prophecies of the eagle and condor is fulfilled, that is, they come together, that it would unite the indigenous people of the Americas. But the eagles and condors don't fly in Central America. Eagles and condors don't fly in the Amazon. So one of the greatest tasks was, how is it that we bring this unity with our relatives in Central America? And of course, at the beginning, you go back and look at various documents and so forth, you'll see it was the jaguar or the boa, and then all of a sudden it emerged some years ago, the Quetzal. That's what unites and symbolizes Central America. It's been, now you'll see it if you can go out, you'll see people mention the Quetzal. So how'd the hummingbird come in? Well, back in 2020, and actually started back in way before that, but particularly beginning in 2012 at Rio Plus 20, when they had a great gathering, and so many of the incredible relatives came from the Amazon. And so that unification process began. And then through traveling down into Ecuador with Amazon Watch, and getting a chance to go to different communities, as well as other things that happened, are in gathering, enlightening our way together. Then the hummingbird emerged. The hummingbird, although there's many sacred birds in the Amazon, the hummingbird came in. So it was a hummingbird. Now, then it was prophesied that not only would they unite, but they'd be formally unite. They come together and unite. And so sure enough, on March 21st, 2023, representatives from the Condor, in fact, one of the elders was sent directly by the people of Tiwanaku, by the elders of Tiwanaku, to bring the whole story so everybody was real clear how this thing unfolded. So we had representatives from the Condor, representatives from the hummingbird from the Amazon, representatives, of course, being in Chiapas, in Palenque, there, those incredible Mayan sacred place. There was a lot of Mayans. Of course, a lot of the hummingbird was there, and of course, then a wonderful group came from the eagle, the North, Canada, the United States, and formally after spending 4 days in consultation and ceremony, and then on the 21st, a sacred dance right there before the pyramids in Palenque. After that was over, all the indigenous relatives who were there came together and, using a non-political, non-partisan electoral process, elected the first formal council. It's a yearly election of the Union of the Condor, Hummingbird, Quetzal, and Eagle, based in a covenant in founding documents that have been developed over the last 52 years, which provide the guiding principles, 16 guiding principles, which we actually worked on beginning in 1982 at the University of Lethbridge when we launched our Four Worlds development project. And that process was an 8-year process. The last 2 years, there was over 500 people came for 7 days each to further take these from their beginning of 4 to 7 and 16. Those were presented to the United Nations and have now become the foundation of this movement of Indigenous people across the Americas, plus other groups like Compassion Games and Sign Network. The same agreements were made in a ceremonial process, 2 days and 2 nights, with all the Special Force veterans representatives down outside of Austin, Texas. So they've joined the union. Now at that gathering in Palenque, a delegation representing Ireland came. And so Ireland came in. They sent a whole group to witness this whole process. We're deeply involved now from the Hague Center in the Netherlands, Hague Center for Peace and Development. So this union is unfolding. Now, the prophecy promised that as Indigenous people came together, this would be also have a tremendous impact on the people understanding we're one human family. That is the unification of the human family. Because what the elders have told us is this is foundational. Just the understanding that each and every one of us is an Indigenous person of this Mother Earth, and we're members of one human family. And to really understand that the hurt of one is the hurt of all. We can see it today in the world. Whatever perspective you might have what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, the fact is that everyone is suffering from higher fuel costs, higher food costs. War does not do anything but create more war. But that's one of the things that we are demonstrating. When you think about it, whatever perspective we might have on political organizations, which, for myself, I don't want to be part of partisan politics, but to think about it, in both Canada, the United States, and other places, in Panama, in Colombia, all across the Americas, now we have been organized. Indigenous people have come together despite their differences. And so you have the Assembly of First Nations, which, again, it's got its politics. So I'm not purporting that that's going to be the answer. But the fact is, the National Women's Association here in Canada, all Indigenous women, they're coming together. So what I'm saying is, think about the fact that all these tribes and nations, how many hundreds across the United States and Canada, have set aside differences and are coming together to work together. This is what the world has to do. So this is already, we're role modeling. Maybe people don't realize it because I think from my perspective, the greatest challenge we have as Indigenous people is our own disunity. Once we address that, once we begin to address our intergenerational trauma, the lateral violence, internalized oppression, where we do this to our own selves, because, you know, only colonize people colonize people, only hurt people, only abuse people. And so we've all got to step out of this on all sides. Now, the thing I think that really becomes very apparent to you, and I'm in my 80th year now, is that we're not this earth suit. You know, it just wears out. My dad used to tell me, son, he said, you know, you just wear out. I couldn't understand him. He told me this when I was in my early 20s. He said, son, we're only here for a brief time. I couldn't understand that. But I can tell you, in my 80th year, just like Crowfoot said, life, he said, life's like the breath of a buffalo on a cold day, or a firefly on a warm summer night, or the shadows vanishing before the setting sun. That's life. And that's the way it is. Like a firefly on a warm summer night. And all of a sudden you're going to, you're going to say, oh, you look in the mirror and say, how in the world did I get here? My gosh, I used to have curly black hair. I was about 2 inches taller. Shoot, all my plumbing worked. But that's life. And I think it's also important to remember that when we're conceived into this world, and now they've been able to photograph that conception, the light flashes, each of us is conceived in this physical world and time and space, a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, and everlasting. That means that once you come into this physical plane of time and space, there is no death. No matter what happens in the womb, no matter what happens when you go. Now, you know, just like when we're in our mother's womb and conceive, they're microscopic. Our purpose inside that womb world is to grow our physical arms and legs and eyes and ears. We go through all kinds of shapes and forms. But that's our outer being coming together. We're growing our arms and legs and eyes and ears. And sure enough, just like when we're going to leave this world, we don't know exactly when you're going to be coming to this world. The time comes, the water breaks, and we make our journey. And that, of course, my sisters would know a lot more about that, but that's like than me. But we know we begin the journey. We leave behind the womb world. And little did we know when we're inside the womb world, that tiny, tiny space, which was us to the world, how great this world would be here. So sure enough, we're born in this world. We leave behind the womb world. Of course, as you know, in our tribes all across the Americas, we had special care. We take care of that umbilical cord. Special ceremony to be done with it. Of course, now we're finding out it's rich with stem cells, but their part was the fact that it was part of us that came and brought us to this world. Now, the question comes, well, what's our purpose here? Well, from my perspective, our purpose here is to grow our spiritual arms and legs and eyes and ears, to prepare us for the next part of the journey. And there's tests and difficulties in this physical world of time and space that test us spiritually. I mean, I love this one teaching. It says, do you think you say you believe and will not be tested? Do you think you say you believe and will not be tested? Of course you'll be tested. If it weren't for tests, how could we know the counterfeit from the real? If it weren't tests and difficulties, how could we know the coward from the courageous? This comes with a dinner. These tests and difficulties. And sometimes they're tough. I mean tough. We have to have compassion because, and not, by the way, in this process, we better be very careful about judging other human beings. Oh, because we feel we're better than them, because we never, ever know our own end. None of us, not any of us. We don't know what's in our path. We don't know what tests and difficulties are in our path. So I think that understanding truly that each of us is a sovereignty, ancient, imperishable, everlasting, and being as much as we can respectful and loving and compassionate to others. Now, that doesn't mean if we know somebody's sick and they can hurt us or hurt others, you don't stand back and allow yourself to be hurt. I'm not saying we got to walk the spiritual path with practical feet. Walk the spiritual path with practical feet. We've got to do both. On one hand, our feet have to be strong in this ground, on Mother Earth. On the other hand, our mind, our spirit needs to be able to soar like the eagle, but always grounded, right here, grounded. So I'm gonna put a bookmark there and ask any questions you might have.
I have a question for you. Where would you say to get started walking with a spiritual path? Where would you recommend for someone who's new today and maybe watching this, where they should begin or where they could begin?
Well, I think that the number one thing is, first of all, to decide to make the journey. Because unless you really commit yourself to the journey, to really understand who you are, which means right here, then the journey is not going to happen. So I think that's the number one, is having that desire that, coming to a place in your life and saying, there's more to me that I know there's more to me than I understand. I know I'm feeling this. I've felt and seen these things that I know I can do more. I know I have a role to play in this world. I know there's things I have to do. I know that I want to find more happiness. Now, I think that first of all, I think prayer is so important. Now, by the way, I'm not talking about making rote prayers. I mean, I'm sure if you get tested, you get down to it. I'm talking about talking with a creator from your heart. Now, that doesn't mean it has to all be holy. Sometimes you might want to go out someplace and express your pain, because sometimes we don't understand, why did this happen to me? I'm doing the best I can. Why? So I have that communication with your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And that's best found in the natural world. In the natural world, to go in the natural world where it's quiet, you can receive that, to pray and ask for that guidance, to ask, Creator, please guide me. Please help me understand. Help me to truly understand myself, my true self. Who am I? Why am I here? What do I need to do? What are my strengths? What do I need to work on? And, there's also, I think, a whole variety of other resources. One of them is a little book we wrote back in 1985 called The Sacred Tree. It's about 100 pages long. We had a beautiful foreword by my elder sister, Jane Goodall. And what we tried to do was distill the essence of these teachings that we find in Indigenous communities. Now, how we express these teachings is different from community to community. For instance, for the Oceti-Sakowin, the 7 Council of Fires, people call it the Great Sioux Nation. When we have ceremonies, we go clockwise. Now, other nations go counterclockwise. Now, we go counterclockwise when we're doing a ceremony when somebody's just born, what we call a Chiapi ceremony, or when they die. But look at this. Here you go. Now, what direction is my finger going? How's it look to you? Looking at my finger,
It looks counterclockwise when you're doing it
clockwise,
this way.
clockwise. You see, so what I'm saying is that it's really, when you understand that this world we really, really are part of, the spiritual world goes beyond time and space. There's no time and space. There's no up and down. There's no before and after. Now, limited in just like in the womb, there's certain constrictions in the womb that constrict us. And it's just the way it is. There's certain constrictions here in this physical world of time and space that constrict us. But the thing is, we're preparing, as we do every night. Every night when we go to sleep, and they've done they've done all these scientific studies about this, where they put all these instruments on somebody, they can measure their brain waves and so forth and so on. And they watch you go down, your senses turn off, your ears and your eyes and all so forth, and your smell. It goes down, 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 down. And at one point, all of a sudden, the brain waves go up higher than they were when you're awake. But you're completely, totally dead to your senses within, outside. Of course, that's what science calls a paradox. They can't understand, they call it paradox. But the fact is, when we go to that state, that's when we are open to the spiritual world. That's where we have these incredible dreams that come just before sunrise in Technicolor. Now, that doesn't mean every time you dream, you're getting some kind of revelation from the creator. Sometimes you had too much pizza, or sometimes you're just working through something that happened during the day. But we do have these dreams. That's a fact. And where is it coming from? Well, it's not coming from this world of time and space. It's coming from another. And one of the things I want to share here, just I might here, let me just get to it real quick here. I want to share, and then we'll close it up here with this. And that is what is our soul? And what I did was I tried to summarize this from what I understand, what the elders taught me. So here's what I reflect with. Our soul is independent of and the very source of our body's existence. If our body is destroyed, our soul and spirit remain unharmed. Our soul, our human spirit, is independent of our physical body. Our soul is free and sanctified beyond this physical plane of time and space. All the powers that distinguish us as human beings, reason, memory, abstract thought, creativeness, inventiveness, willpower, are all properties of our soul, not the body. A love that anyone may have had for anyone will not be forgotten in the spiritual worlds to come, nor will we forget the life we had in this physical world. In the spiritual world, we will recognize one another. We will seek union, a spiritual union. And by the way, that doesn't mean just when you leave your physical body. When you begin your spiritual journey and you enter into that spiritual world that you're journeying in, you will recognize others who are on that journey. Just like right now, we are recognizing others who are on this journey with us. We will seek union, a spiritual union. So this is not limited by the fact that after you die. This is now. This is part of the spiritual journey, as you find others, and sometimes you find your spiritual relatives even are close in your biological relatives. Sorry. Our soul's relationship with our body is like the connection between a lamp and a mirror. If the mirror is polished and perfected, the lamp's light appears, but if the mirror is broken or covered with dust, the light remains concealed. That's why purifying our heart and mind will be a reflection of the sacred, beautiful Son of reality. Our rational soul, the human spirit, does not descend into our bodies or exist through our physical bodies. It's just the opposite. Our soul is the very substance and foundation upon which our body depends for existence. Here's what I love. The soul has no gender, race, ethnicity, or class. This reality makes all forms of prejudice, whatever they may be, intolerable and unacceptable. The soul is not divided. It is a reflection of the oneness of our Creator. Our soul is endowed from our beginning in this physical world of time and space with its own individuality. Our soul does not acquire it because of our body. The last one, the individuality and the identity of our soul are strengthened in this physical world through our spiritual tests and challenges.
Aho.
Aho. So Mitak Yepi, I'm going to put a bookmark here. It's just been a great joy to be here. Big hugs. I can see the wonderful, wonderful relatives who are coming along in this whole day of presentations. I'm so pleased, and I'll try to tune in as I go along. I'm going to go to some meetings and things. But it's a great honor to meet each and every one of you, to be here with you, and I know on this eternal journey we'll be together again without question.
Yes.
Okay.
Miigwech, thank you so, so much. Thank you. The day will be continuing from here, but we can take a 10-minute break. And if you would like, take a moment to ground, take a moment to journal. And then we look forward to seeing you back here in 10 minutes for Mark Stonefish's teaching. Chi miigwech.